something that each and every one of us does every day, and yet it's never mentioned in schools. It's fundamental to our health, and I've never heard my GP mention it, not even once. What is it? Can you guess it? Our breath, of course. Today, we have the honor and pleasure of having a chat with Lisa McNett, founder of One Breath Institute, fondly named OBI. She shares the story that led her to create OBI, exciting little gems that each and every one of us can use to harness the power of breathwork to heal, grow, and find peace within. So if you breathe, tune in. Lisa, this beautiful morning. So, Lisa, what has been your journey that has led you to what you're doing right now? Is it integrated breath therapy?
Introspective breathwork therapy. What has been my journey? Okay, you want to start with the journey?
Journey to get to where we are and what we're doing, right? Because without that journey, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So, yeah, like what led you to this space to be sharing your gift with the world?
Yeah, great question. So I would say my own childhood trauma and pain. Had a very rough childhood in all the ways, all the abuse, all the noise, all the everything. And this led to me being chronically ill early on in life. This led to me becoming an alcoholic early in life, experimenting with drugs, things along those lines. And so I ended up going down a path that led me to becoming a nightclub manager. And all while I was a child, I was very sensitive. I was very spiritual. I was very in tune. I knew these things about myself. And those parts of myself just had to hide or were, overridden by all of the difficulties of my life situation. And so I had this kind of dual experience where I was dealing with my own addictions and in this life of, waitressing and then bartending and then managing nightclub and everything that entails in that, but also very optimistic, very open, knowing that I have a big mission in life, knowing that I have a big purpose in life, and feeling this very deep innate call to go meditate in some cave over in Asia. And so I finally had my, kind of breakthrough moments where I did decide to leave my life behind. And I went to India for 3 months to immerse myself in studying Ayurveda, studying yoga and studying Ayurveda. And while I was there, I found my way to the cave that I was apparently supposed to meditate in. And I went into my little meditative posture. And the next thing I know, when I came back to awareness of my body, I was soaking wet. The cave was filled with people, whereas nobody was in it when I was in there before. I felt like this extreme bliss and joy and oneness with everything. I stumbled out onto the mountain and realized several hours had gone by. So I really, some people, I call it a Kundalini awakening because that's the language that we have for it. But I don't really like labeling what happened, but it was a big spiritual experience and spiritual awakening that then helped course correct me. And so after that, it was just a matter of, following my inner guidance and intuition on what was next on my journey. And so, after returning to the States, I ended up doing another yoga certification. I ended up going and learning energy healing. I ended up going to massage school and learning massage. I ended up going through life coach training and all of these things, all of these different pieces that I was doing were really to support my own healing process to support my own healing process, and they opened me up to my own healing process, and my work with the world have from that time been in alignment with one another. And so introspective breathwork therapy was always going to happen. It was always going to come through. It's my purpose in the world. And it just took a number of years of connecting, following my path and going where I was meant to go, connecting with these different modalities, working with people, healing myself, healing the layers of myself, and learning really what works and what doesn't work.
Nice. Yeah. So it seems like you went to like doing multiple jobs to like keep busy, is it? To not then have to look inside, to then carving time out to basically look inside and be within and go through your journey.
I would say, I mean, yeah, I was very disconnected. I was very disconnected, disembodied, dissociated. Yeah, so I was not really looking in for a number of years. Yeah, I worked all the time, super busy. It wasn't necessarily multiple jobs. It was just lots and lots of hours. And then, yeah, I went from, okay, I'm done with all of this. This is killing me. This is not what I want. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, to now I'm in this remote place. I'm the yogi on the mountaintop, and all we're doing is looking inside. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like there's such a culture of being busy so that we don't have to look within. And it's almost like put, at a pedestal. If you're busy, then you're worth something, and worth like this whole, it's just that rat race, right? Whereas the beauty of just pausing and saying no to things and coming within is this different type of joy and peace, which I feel is not as well. Now it's coming out more culturally, but I feel like it's that balance of the worlds, right? Of like, what's that balance between your purpose and the work or having a job, etc. So yes.
Yeah, and that is so that busy piece, it's so pervasive, as you spoke to. It's so pervasive that it's so easy to creep in. I mean, in my work, I support people healing all the time, in one-to-one work. And I also train facilitators. And so in my work, whether it's with somebody in their own healing journey or their own healing process, or somebody who is wanting to become a facilitator and learn to support people, that shows up. I mean, that's there. And then when you're trying to create a business in healing, that shows up. It's like, if I do all these things and I'm all over the place and I'm busy all the time, then I'm going to have success and it's going to show in my bank account. But that's not the way it works either. So it's really something that is part of the healing process, is overcoming that embedded message, that embedded experience that is also just perpetuated in all of our role models or in the family lines or everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned so from coming from abuse, how did you then able to change? Well, I feel like you kept like the light on, like, the silver lining when you said you were busy, but you still kept like that hope, or that, that space of like, no, it is a wonderful world. There is a reason, or like there is beautiful people. That kind of mindset still kept going. So it's like, the dark cloud of the silver lining. So then how did you go from like that space of what you felt in that space to then integrating it to become the silver lining, becoming a complete silver cloud, kind of, if that's what happened in your journey?
Yeah, from a silver lining to a silver cloud. Yeah, to it being more. Well, the healing journey, it's you point towards something that I really think about a lot. And what I really think about a lot is how some people have this innate drive or this innate feeling of optimism, even when things feel like there's no reason to be optimistic. And then there are people who would be the opposite of that, right? Like just sunken into darkness and depression. And then there's, of course, all of the layers, all of the layers in between that. And so I think about this all the time. I think about, why is there this difference or this variation, amongst people, and how do some people really are better able to pull themselves up than other people are. And so, it's, the healing journey is not an easy one. It is not an easy one at all. And, it really requires a willingness or an ability to, I'm going to say willingness and ability, not one or the other, but a willingness to keep showing up, even on the hard days, and then a willingness to either be vulnerable enough to find somebody who can really help, and or able to just keep pulling yourself up, right? And so it's through the journey of continually showing up for myself, and I'll speak generally as well because it's what I experience in working with people. It's through that showing up and being courageous and willing to face the darkness within and to sit with the darkness within and to connect with other humans and to share and to be vulnerable and to cry and to breathe and to accept the resources that we need to, and all of these things. It's the process that you go through and that I went through. It shows. I ran for a while. I'm going to just kind of give a little bit of an analogy. I started running in 2012. I ran from 2012 to like 2018. There's this period of like 6 years where I ran, and I don't run anymore. But when I hated running. Like I never, like I would, no, I'm just going to no. And then I joined this gym and I said, if there's running, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, oh, there's no running and you don't have to do it. But they lied and there was running. There was a little bit of running. And I would like cry. I would literally cry because the running was that hard. And the coach sat me down and he was like, look, you just need to like get these shoes and follow these training videos and you sign up for a 5K in 6 weeks, and gave me this plan on how to train for that 5K. And Krishna, I would literally, when I was trying to run for 30, I would cry, I would break down, I would all these things. And then when I ran 6 weeks later, when I ran through that entire 3.1 miles and crossed that finish line, I broke down in tears that I actually made this accomplishment, that I actually did that. It was so overwhelmingly, I was so proud of myself. It was such a big thing that I had been able to go from not even being able to do this for like a minute to now I can run for, 3.1 miles. And I kept going. And as I kept going, I ended up running marathons, a couple marathons, 26.2 miles. And every step of the way through that, I encountered different parts of myself that were really, really challenging to move through, like so hard to move through, and I wanted to quit and I wanted to give up. And I literally can tell you, I wanted to like lay down on the side of the road at different times and just hope that I just died. And like, and I'm laughing about it, but I was like, I'm just going to lie here and I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe somebody will run me over with their car. I don't care. But I got up and I kept going. And it's really the same thing. It's the same thing. It's moving through all of those different it's accomplishments. It's accomplishments, and you find the resources within yourself and how powerful you are, and life gets a lot better too. Life gets a lot better too, because, if we're talking about a marathon, I'm a lot healthier, right? And if I'm talking about healing my trauma, I'm a lot healthier. I have a lot healthier nervous system, and my relationships get better. And the way that I'm viewing, if I'm already a little bit optimistic in a world where it should be I should just always want to be under the covers, then the level of optimism and the level of goodness that I can see once I have a healthier nervous system, is just, there it is. There's an answer.
It's so fascinating, because even with children, they say that if they're feeling like angry or something upsetting happened, to run to like move this muscle memory and like, to move that space. So you're getting oxytocin, like all the happy hormones and stuff in. So it's so wonderful that you mentioned running, because it's like with every level, you kind of shedding another layer of like your mindset that, I can't do it, to like your willpower and pushing through and be like, no, I'm bigger than this. Like, this is like, like, how you said, like death feels better than like having to push through another layer that now I also have to deal with this and push through this. But it's our mind is so amazing with how much we can accomplish when we like just keep pushing through those barriers, when we're told, like as a little kid or with teachers, like, oh, you can't do that, you can't be that, to then like completely like, no, watch me, right? Like, just let me just blow this mindset out of the water.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
I'm so proud of you. I had like goosebumps when you started telling me that story. I was like, oh my God. Like, wow, just that strength within you to like want to run. So was it a discomfort like physically of running, or just like what it meant, or that mental push through, or was running
all of it? All of it.
All of the above.
All of it. I'll go back to that first 5K. I'll go back to that first 5K that I spoke about, because when this coach said, pick a 5K and run it, I picked a 5K that was on March 17th. March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day was my father's birthday. My father's birthday was one of my biggest triggers. And I would, when I drank, I would drink myself into oblivion every St. Patrick's Day. I couldn't escape St. Patrick's Day, because everybody is like, in the US anyway, we wear green and it's St. Patrick's Day and woo woo woo, and the reason being that my father couldn't have told you when my birthday was. He was never around for my birthday. He wasn't available, but his birthday was March 17th. And so my mom always had to make him corned beef and cabbage, and everybody had to come together and celebrate. So this was like, you don't even know my birthday. You were never there. And we have to, so it was such a big trigger. So I picked March 17th race to run. And then, the pain of running at first was like, literally, it's like, it's my body and it's my mind and it's everything just saying, no, no, no. And this is hard and this hurts and this isn't, but when I went through that finish line and I broke down and I started crying, it was only in part about the running. And the other part was about how I did this really healthy thing for myself on this day that is normally a big trigger, and I'm so happy, I'm out here and I'm happy and I'm celebrating, and I transformed that day forever from doing this. And so, you mentioned too the mind, and the mind is a big part of what gets in our way. The body and even our spiritual self, our energetic self, is capable and aware of so much more that we can do, but the mind will start shutting it down. And so when I was going these further and further distances, I would start to feel like my feet hurt, and now my legs hurt, and now everything hurts, and I'm in pain and I'm gonna die, right? And I went through a period of time where I couldn't get past a certain mileage because it was the same thing. It was like everything hurts and I can't do this. And then I was like, because our mind is only going to let us go as far as it knows that we can safely go. And once the mind feels threatened, it is going to do everything that it can possibly do to make you stop doing what is threatening it. So because I work with the breath and because I work with meditation mindset as well, I was like, there's got to be something I can do. So I got this book. It was called, I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what it's called right now if I think of it. But anyway, it's about breathing and running. And so, and connecting with a part as you are doing this breath work and you're running, you also connect with a part in the body that feels good. I remember the author was saying, like, there's some place in the body that feels good. And that's where you connect with and you breathe into it and you invite that to expand. And so I start doing this. So I'm running and I'm like, okay, I'm to this point. I want to lay down on the side of the road and get hit by a car. Okay, breathe, do the breath work. Where in my body feels good? Like, where in my body feels okay? And there was like one little tiny place in my stomach. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to connect with. I'm going to connect with this place in my stomach. I'm going to breathe into it. I'm going to see if I can blow it up and expand it like a balloon. And then 5 minutes later, my whole body felt fine. Wow. My whole body felt fine. And so I used this. It's like, are you injured? No. Or is the body? No. There's a difference between injury and the body just, or the mind through the body saying, we're done. danger. So redirecting, using the breath and then connecting with a part that feels good and inviting that and redirecting the attention. Because it's where we put our focus and our intention, that then my body would be, there's the high, I'm feeling good, woo-hoo-hoo. I can keep going until it happens again. And that's life, right?
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah, because running also triggers that fight and flight, right? Because biologically, we're running away from an animal or prey or unsafe situation. So it kind of triggers fight and flight. And then you kind of have to calm yourself down and be like, I'm just exercising. It's okay. I'm just, right? It's like a mental.
That too, yeah. Yeah, that too. Yes.
It's so beautiful how you change that day from like almost like, how dare I celebrate you, to then you transformed it into what did you transform it into at the end of the race?
A day of celebrating me.
Ah, yeah.
A day of celebrating me.
Definitely. That's so powerful, right? Like, wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of giving your power away to your father, you're basically like, giving yourself that power to be like, I did this run. Did it in a day where I didn't want to like even meet the day, right? It's like, oh crap, like I don't want to even experience this day, to completely intentionally with your whole body experiencing the day with the power of your breath.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So is your childhood, is that what motivated you to pursue the career that you like, the field that you're in with the breath work?
I would say Probably yes. Probably yes. A lot of a lot of it is just intuitive guidance. And so my childhood motivated me to pursue healing modalities. And as I was pursuing these different healing modalities, it was kind of like, okay, what's next? Like I got so far with this one, and I've kind of plateaued. Kind of what's next. It's just deeper exploration of what's next. And so, yeah, finally that what's next was breath work. What's next was breath work. And when I got to breath work and I had my personal experience with breath work and the healing that I experienced through that, I mean, it 10x'd. It 10x'd. Everything else was like, okay, I got this, and now I'm here, and now I'm here, and now I'm here. It's like kept going up, and then when I got to breath work, it was like, it just blew everything open, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. But introspective breathwork therapy combines these other combines some of these other modalities as well. So so there's breath work, and then there's introspective breathwork therapy that we developed. It's more than just a technique. It's a philosophy for healing and a way of way of being.
Okay. So it's something you created?
Yes, myself, and I need to give credit to my co-founders of One Breath Institute, Deborah Dickey and Andy McNett. But it started. Debbie was my first apprentice. I was working with another breathwork school, and Debbie and I had a relationship. We had known each other for a while, and we had done some work together. She did dream work. We were both massage therapists. We were both Reiki teachers. But the breath was mine, and it's not something that she had any experience with. And then finally one day she said, I want to learn breath work. And so she was an apprentice of mine with a school that I was teaching with. And through the apprenticeship, she's the only person I ever apprenticed to. So it's kind of fascinating the way this whole thing worked out, whereas instead of her joining a class, it was just the two of us together. And so I was really just, teaching her and training her and working with her and sharing like my way, right? Like my way of doing it. And then when I was ready to open One Breath Institute and start a school of my own, I said, okay, Debbie, we need to do this together. I think we need to do this together. And so it was really Debbie and I that really did most of the development of introspective breathwork therapy. And Andy had a hand in supporting as well. And he brings in all of the anatomy pieces. And so when we were working on it, Debbie was kind of reflecting some things back to me. And she was saying, well, this is what I learned from you. And this is what I learned from you. And this is what I learned from you. So she helped me see some of the ways that I had brought in things differently. Whereas I from the other schools. And so as that was happening, and then as there was an invitation for her to bring in her pieces as well and her reflections of how it works. And we really just allowed ourselves to get really creative and to bring in, our ideas and our philosophies and our, what we have seen, like I said, that doesn't work and what we have seen that does work. And we really co-developed this healing modality together.
That's so beautiful.
Thanks.
So Andy, I'm assuming, is your partner with the same last name?
Yes, he's my husband. Yeah, he's my husband. Yeah, and he's an occupational therapist, and he's an occupational therapist and a craniosacral therapist, which I also am. He ended up going through the training. He went through our breathwork training that Debbie and I started, but in the beginning, he was kind of more of he wasn't into the breath so much, but he was more of a mirror and a reflection. He was doing all of our editing. He was like supporting all of the work that we were doing, and he was reflecting things back. And when we were I needed to come up with a name because somebody was like, "What is it that you do?" And I was like, "What is it that I do? And what is it called? What is it called?" And so Andy gave us the name. Andy said introspective breath work. He said, "This is introspective breath work. This is what you guys are doing. It's very introspective, and you're using breath work." So he gave us introspective breath work, and then we added the therapy on. About a year ago, we added the therapy to it because it just makes sense.
Yeah. So have you integrated any ancient wisdom with modern therapeutic practices in your work? Like, what's the mesh, I guess, or what parts did you integrate?
Yeah, 100%. So what parts? You ask big questions, and I can go on and on. So we bring in the energetic system. We bring in the energetic systems, and just the fact that we are energy beings. I bring in some. We go very in depth into the chakra systems. More so than I've seen anywhere else, but really the energetic systems, and some of the philosophies that come to us. I was very deeply immersed I learned Sanskrit. I spent time in India. I got very immersed in the ancient, not modern yoga where we're doing just exercise, but the ancient practices, the ancient techniques. And then I considered myself a Buddhist. I was, considered myself a Buddhist for a while. I was very much into Zen Buddhism. I went down the path of Krishna consciousness for a while, and it was very embedded in those practices. And so those, they're very similar philosophies, very similar, same philosophies. And some of those philosophies are just deeply embedded in what we do, and the mesh is that we are approaching it from a modern psychological standpoint. We're talking about the nervous system and the way that we, the things that people can actually see and measure with regard to trauma, addiction, just talking about a little bit about what you were saying in the beginning, the busyness of life. We can talk about the busyness of life and things that, and there's just the modern approach. Here's certain things that we can see and that we can measure, and then underneath it is the practices of stillness, the practices of introspection, right? Which are the foundations of the ancient philosophies.
Yeah, definitely. Is there an exercise you do? Like, let's say if you are feeling busy, or especially with the monthly cycles with women, or, with men having their 15-minute testosterone boost and then not having that. Is there something that you do when you're feeling like crappy or shitty, or like, and it just feels too much? Is there something that you do to help you back into that introspective or stillness space, or that, you mentioned like a spot where it feels good and magnifying that? Like, is there something that you do that helps you back into harmonizing yourself?
So many different things. So let's just, so it can be really hard. There's got to be a bridge between go, busy, and still, right? And so I would say, one thing that can be really, that can be that bridge is, standing, feeling the feet connect to the ground, really let the feet slow down the breath. You can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. nice and slow, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Bend the knees a little bit, drop down, and let the feet get heavy. Feel the feet sink into the earth. You can send your roots down if you believe in that, or feel like visualizing and really dropping, that connection in, and inviting some shaking and inviting some movement. And that shaking and movement, you can place a hand on the heart, a hand on the belly. And with that shaking and movement, let the exhales through the mouth become a sigh, right? And just let the movement and shaking become what is natural for the body. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling, sigh through the mouth. Kind of move, shake through that. And then when it feels natural, you can come to that place of stillness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What does the shaking part do?
Yeah, so the shaking part, okay, I'll give you another visual. Think about a cat or a dog. After it's, been running, or even when it gets up from a nap, what does it do?
Yeah.
It pauses, it stretches, and it shakes.
Uh-huh.
If you see in the wild, if you ever see like a zebra, and we see these things on like National Geographic, or we see these wild animals where a zebra is chased by a lion. The zebra is chased by the lion and it stops, and what does it do? It shakes. So that shaking is just a way of connecting with the nervous system. And the breath, the inhale through the mouth, the nose, and the exhale through the mouth is stimulating the vagus nerve. So you're stimulating the vagus nerve. I don't know if your listeners know about the vagus nerve, but you're stimulating the vagus nerve, and you are shaking off literally connecting with the nervous system and the muscles, and allowing some shaking off of stress, anxiety, tension. It's just a little nervous system reset.
Yeah. So it's like from the fight and flight to like the calm. So for people that don't know what the vagus nerve is, how would you express that?
Yeah. The vagus nerve is, so we have cranial nerves, and cranial nerves, it goes from the brain to different parts of the body. So the vagus nerve is the longest, biggest cranial nerve that we have. And it travels down through the neck, and it branches out. I wish I had a picture I could show you right now, but it branches out. It goes into every organ. It branches down the arms. It branches down the legs. It literally, it looks like a tree with so many limbs. And so it's the biggest nerve in our body. It innervates every organ, every system of the body. And 80% of the job or the role of the vagus nerve is actually to send information to the brain. So most of the nerves that we have are sending information from the brain to the body. And the vagus nerve is the only one that most of the information is coming in through the body to the brain, and then creating a reaction. And so the way that information comes through, or I should say the type of information that comes through, is filtered through how much tension, anxiety, depression, trauma we are storing in the body. And so we can stimulate the vagus nerve in a positive way that creates more of a sense of safety into the body, so that then the body can relax some. And so humming can help with that. Again, long exhales can help with that. There's other ways to stimulate the vagus nerve. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all comes back to homeostasis, right? It's coming back to a place of calm and peace and stillness, and just being in the flow of joy or life, basically being present to life.
Being present to life. Yeah, being present to life.
Can you discuss the importance of alignment and connection in terms of achieving true happiness and freedom?
Yeah. Yeah. Alignment and connection and the role that that has in true happiness and freedom. Well, I think probably most everybody that's listening has some example of doing things because your parents wanted you to, or somebody else wanted you to, and you end up resenting that thing, right? Like some of you might still be in that situation of you're living your life according to the way that society or the people in your life have told you this is what you need to do. And that's not fun. That's not fun. You know, every single one of us, every single person on this planet has their own unique, innate gifts and talents, and we are all different. And this world is meant to be a world where each person as an individual flame, I'm going to just use that word, each person as an individual flame with their own contribution is co-creating. I mean, can you imagine what an amazing world it would be if every person were in alignment with their purpose and therefore happy? And it's kind of like, you know, I say this sometimes, like, not everybody can make red tables. Like, like if everybody, if everybody, if all that we all did was make red tables, then we would have all red tables and we would have no chairs to sit on and we would have no food to eat and we have no utensils to eat. All we would have is red tables. We would be missing so much, right? We would be missing. And we have too many red tables right now. Like, we have too many red tables. We have too many people that are, you know, doing or creating or, you know, the same things. And so I guess I'm just saying that because it's important. Like, whatever it is that is your inner calling, one, we need you to do it. And two, when you finally, like, what stops us from coming into alignment is oftentimes, you know, fear, I'm going to disappoint my parents, fear, I'm not going to make enough money, fear, like, there's so many fears. There's so many lists of fears. But when you actually work through and move through those fears and say, like, okay, yes, what I have within me is true and valid and valuable and needed in this world, and I'm going to, like, show up in that way, then it's scary, but you will receive the validation. You will have haters too, right? The people that are wanting to keep you making red tables are going to be like, you still need to keep the red tables. So, but there's also people that are waiting for you to bring the yellow water bottle or the purple plate, you know, and those are the people that you move towards more. And when you start, you know, receiving that kind of feedback more, you become even more willing to and validated in your choice to be the free and authentic you.
Yeah, because when you expressed, like, when you went through breath work and you felt that 10x, so it's kind of like there's a clear sign that this is your path, this is the lighted gateway pathway, kind of. Is that how you felt when you went through, like, when you experienced breath work and then went through that journey?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And was it easy, or did you feel like you had the voices of, like, oh, but this, you should be making the red table, why are you doing this? Or by that time you're like, I don't want to create a red table anymore. Like,
Well, the thing about it was, so I came to breath work and I loved breath work and I knew breath work was the thing. And I also knew that I had my unique expression with breath work. But what I did, I continued to suffer for a few years because I was scared to make my own expression with breathwork. And so I worked with other breathwork schools. And I was like, this is the way that you do breathwork. And this is I got to stick with this school and I got to do it this way. And there was so much discomfort in that. So it's like, even when we find that thing, we still might want to like do it like other people who are doing that thing. Right. And so I had some painful lessons that, that finally led to me being like, no, like breath work's the thing, but here's my expression of breath work. If breath work's a bunch of red tables, mine is a red table with blue butterflies on it. It's yeah, it's finding that and then finding your expression of that too.
Yeah. So did you go through like self-doubt of like, oh, well, this is how they've been doing it for ages, so how dare I create my own? Or it's just kind of like fitting in because, as you mentioned, it was a red table of breath work then, because this is how they're doing it. So like kind of slotting in with peer pressure, or just like the self-worth esteem of like creating your own, like how dare you?
Creating your own thing is not easy. Creating your own thing is not easy. It's not easy. Yeah. And and that's a path, that, and being an entrepreneur and it's like, there's something about the safety of if I stay under here, right? There's a safety because I'm getting a paycheck, and there's a safety because, how they're, big and popular, or they're getting up, but I won't be, or, oh, that means I'm gonna be seen, or what is it gonna take for me to get there? And how can I do that? And all of those limiting beliefs that come up in it. And so for me, it was like, I don't have a choice. I was like, I don't have a choice. Like, I literally just I have to do this. And sometimes I have found in my own experience and also in working with other people that it sometimes we have to absolutely come to, there's no plan B to fall back on. And so I ended up putting myself in that position of all the other jobs, they're gone. There's XYZ amount of money that I have to live on for a period of time while I create this other thing, and it's got to work.
Yeah. When you give yourself no choice, right? So this is it.
This is it. It's got to work. And it did.
Yeah. Because you committed to it. Because I feel like the paycheck is just so safe, right? It's kind of like the nervous system. Well, it's guaranteed, it's kind of like the journey of entrepreneurship. People romanticize it. However, there's work in there. Like there's hours behind, etc. that you don't get in a normal job. Like you clock off at 5, you're at home, you do your thing, you drink over the weekend, etc. or whatever you want to do. Whereas with entrepreneurship, it's an internal journey to like be disciplined, to get there, to get stuff done. And yeah, I feel like the plan B is such a good point because you also hear it in like example birthing spaces or stuff, right? Or like even with businesses, with entrepreneurs, like, well, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back to my job. So at the back of your mind, you're already sabotaging that, hey, I have plan B, so it's fine. I'll just do what I can. I'll put in the bare minimum and make myself believe that I did the best I could. Whereas with no plan B, it's like, it's do or die, right? If you're going to die in 6 weeks, what would you do with your life kind of question?
Yeah.
So well done giving it your all, because that itself is like a massive growth journey. It's like, oh, we're not like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. There's, and something that you said that I really just want to highlight for everyone is that, that safety of the paycheck and that feeling that we have sometimes of like, yeah, this is just my life. I get it. What are we sacrificing at times for that? Like, what are we sacrificing for? There is an exchange for that. And if you don't, and if the sacrifice outweighs the payoff, you only have this one life. And people will argue and say, you come back again and there's reincarnation. Okay, sure. If there is, you're not going to remember. You don't pick up where you left off again.
Yeah, and you want to be in this body expressing this life or being where you are in the world or what you're doing. It's never like completely the same, right? It's like a snowflake. If you do come back, it's not like you're going to be a female, like, whatever it is. Like, there is a different journey in store.
Yes. So in this body, we have this one life. This one life, and it goes by so fast. Even though sometimes it feels like forever. When you're trying to run a mile and you're like, it really goes by fast. And so why not? I would cuss right now, but I don't know if I freaking just go for it. Why not just go for it? What's the worst that's going to happen?
Exactly. We're all going to die. Exactly. I love that point you made for the safety of the paycheck. What are you sacrificing? Because you look at people that have been really successful, like materialistically. However, now like they don't have a family or they don't have a good relationship with their kids, etc. Because they were so on making the money, or that's what I feel like culturally, like it's an interesting time because men still have the pressure of earning the money, whereas women still can, but it's still like this unspoken thing of you better provide or you're not worth anything. And I feel like a lot of men have met along the journey that are with partners or that are basically feeling this trap of like, I'm not worth anything unless I bring the paycheck home.
Yeah, I work with a lot of men, and men don't have it easy. I mean, women don't have it easy either, but not only there is this big expectation of men to be the provider, but they also need to hide their feelings, like man up and just do it. And so yeah, I feel like it's a lot. In many ways, it's more challenging and more difficult for men because they've been taught from a young age, boys don't cry, you don't share your feelings, and they don't have the social network and the social support in the same ways. And I feel like that is something that I see growing and changing too. There are men coming together and starting to heal themselves and starting to extend that work to men and men's groups forming, but it's it's not enough, and it's not fast enough.
Because the rate of men committing suicide is going higher and higher. And I feel like there isn't like so many safe spaces, right? Because it's almost like they've been like, it's kind of like brutalized, right? Because it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? There's just so much. It's kind of like they don't know what their role is anymore, because it's like women are taking roles, but then they're expecting them to still hold that role while like it's kind of like a puppeteering.
Sure.
Yeah. So how would the breath work help them in that journey of then finding themselves or removing all these labels of what they should be or what they have to do or what they have to provide and all this, beautiful craziness that society kind of unspokenly kind of. Well, also spokenly, there's a lot of propaganda and all that all. So,
Yeah. I mean, it helps come back to, well, it just helps move through those layers. It just does. It helps move through those layers. It helps, with realizing, where those conditions came from, the conditioning came from, where those messages came from. And it helps them to reconnect, men and women, helps to reconnect with the essence and the core and the truth of who they actually are and what actually brings them joy. And so through that process, there's just breath work in general. Like I said, it's such a powerful thing of just releasing physically, emotionally, spiritually, some of these burdens so that those are integrated and transformed. And then the person is no longer affected by that. And then they're starting to see and engage with life in a new way. And as I was mentioning, connect with who they truly are and start to utilize new tools in communication and boundary setting and connection. And, it is an empowering. It empowers them to start to create change.
Oh, that's beautiful. Are you able to share a success story from someone who's benefited from the introspective breathwork therapy?
Yes. Yeah, and since we're speaking about men, there's a man that popped into my mind, and his story is quite interesting. We just have so many stories. There's stories of people healing, from chronic illness, all kinds of different things. But yeah, I guess I'll just share this man came to me for work for breath work because he was drinking every night. He was drinking beer every night and he wanted to stop drinking every night. He didn't know why he was drinking every night. He hated drinking every night. But he was stressed out with his job, but his job was great. He made a lot of money, very high paying, high profile job. That was, I'm going to put in quotation marks, great. And he was drinking every night. And so he came for breath work because he wanted to stop drinking beer. So he signed up for 10 sessions, and I think it was like the third or fourth session that he came in and he said, I stopped smoking. And I was like, I didn't know you smoked. You didn't tell me you smoked. And he said, I didn't tell you I smoked because I didn't want to stop smoking. I wanted to keep smoking.
It's just the beer, not the smoking.
I wanted to keep smoking. Yeah, I wanted to quit the beer, keep the smoking. This is real life.
Not that one, just that one.
But what was happening was every session he was connecting with younger versions of himself, and he was connecting with, himself as a child, and he was connecting with, recognizing, times when he was not receiving care or love from a father or from, another parental figure, and when needs were not being met. And he was recognizing those things, and he was recognizing, he was starting to love himself more. And it was through loving himself more that he was like, I don't want to smoke. I don't want to put this in my body. So he, this was also a gay man, and he did not tell anybody about being gay. He did not come out of the closet until late into his 30s. So, it had been about 3 years before prior to me seeing him coming to me. He had been in the closet into his 30s because he couldn't be himself. So he couldn't share with his family. He couldn't, this was his belief. right? This was his belief because of his societal conditioning. So through the, I think it was by session 8 or session 9, he finally stopped his drinking every night. And then right around our last session, he quit his job. He quit his job. He quit his job so that he could go move to the beach and go live his best gay life around other gay men and just like, embody what that meant and have that opportunity and that experience. And so that is one of the quickest, it doesn't always happen in like 10 sessions like that. It was like 10 private sessions and a couple group sessions. All of that doesn't happen normally in that short period of time. So he's kind of my fastest, biggest success story. And it's just, it highlights when somebody's really willing and ready.
Yeah. Like you can bring the horse to drink the water, but you can't make it drink it. And he was just ready to live his life. So like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's get all this stuff done. But yes, the willingness is such a big part of the journey. Because if they're not willing, it doesn't matter what you bring in front of them. It's like, yeah, cool. Willing.
Yeah.
You spoke about breaking free from patterns of generational trauma. Can you elaborate on what generational trauma is?
Yeah, so there's different layers of generational trauma, and really an easy way for me to speak to it in a short period of time would just be the patterns that replay out in the family lines and the family systems, and or the things that we do to avoid those patterns replaying. The things that we avoid, right? So generational trauma, it's father or the parents spanking and yelling at the kid because they were spanked at and yelled at, right? And that cycle perpetuating. Now that's not everybody's necessarily, but spanking their kids or yelling at their kids, but it's a similar dynamic, in the family that is repeating itself. It's a similar belief system in the family that's repeating itself. So, there can be, we all have, within the role within the family, everybody has a role, right? And the roles that everybody has, that is generational trauma. That is conditioned by generational trauma. So oftentimes I come from, one half of my family is Jewish. My mother's side of the family is Jewish. And so that, the conditioning is that the oldest daughter cares for, right? The oldest daughter cares for. And so, and this happens in, in a lot of cultures as well. The oldest daughter is responsible for XYZ, or the son in the family has XYZ role, right? So it's these different roles that we have unconsciously agreed to, or that we're trapped in. Or again, it's, I don't want to be that, so I'm going to run away. Because I still can't be myself in this family, so I have to run away. I'm still affected by that generational trauma. I'm still affected by it. I feel like now I have to go, or I'm going to do opposite, right? Like, so if somebody was spanked and yelled at by their parents, that trauma is embedded. And so now they might say, well, I'm never going to discipline my kid. I'm never going to discipline my kid. Right? So that's the opposite. I'm never going to, that is still playing out through the family line, but in a different way, because there's not a healthy balancing of what is healthy relation, what is a healthy way to be in relationship where there's respect for each individual person and encouragement of each individual person, to be their own authentic self. Oftentimes the parents, right? The parents will want will treat their children the way they wanted to be treated, right? Like, and then they'll you lecturing the kid, you should appreciate this because I didn't have anything that's generational trauma. That's generational trauma. So it's these examples of how, of all of the negative interactions that, or the not so feeling good roles and relationships that we have, it's us not being able to be our authentic self in our family line that is there, that is embedded. So it's really, if you look at it that way, you can see it's a lot more pervasive than one would think.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because a lot of times, like, when they've had like a certain childhood, then they do the complete opposite with not having the balance. And then, yeah, as you spoke, when you then are telling the child that, hey, you have it better than me, that again is not then being present of like, then but what parts were good, or how can I balance this dynamic so it is still healthy, where they have the boundaries, or like, because I feel like, I don't know if you watch World's Strictest Parents.
No.
Okay, so it's kind of like these teenagers that have had completely like, like princess syndrome, or they can do no wrong kind of thing, and they get to like this teenage age, and basically they're out of control, right? Because they haven't had boundaries, they haven't had like, no, you do this because of this, etc. And now, because the parents don't want to be the bad wolf or bad guy, whatever label, like it's basically boundaries and discipline. Because it's kind of like, if you don't tell people how to treat you, they'll keep testing of how far they can use you, or like have you in their life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of with these kids, they haven't had those boundaries, so then they're flown off to someone else's home where the parents have clear boundaries and restrictions, and you don't drink or smoke in the house, or whatever that family has decided are the rules. And so then they're put in a different environment, where now the environment dictates how they behave, right? Because if you do this, you have consequences in this house. Whereas back at home, you don't, because the parents have had a certain childhood, then basically. So it's kind of like, instead of those parents taking responsibility of how they parented their kid, they're like, oh, I don't know what has happened to this kid. I don't know. Like, I've given them everything they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're shipping off to someone else to kind of correct your parenting, but it's only for 10 days. Whereas you've had an influence from young growing up to the teens to now, it's like, oh, it's someone else's problem? Well, yes, now it is that teenager's life. However, it's that skewed off, like, where are the boundaries? Where are the rules? Chores are important for discipline, etc.
Yeah. And in that example, the parents have to be willing to look at themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Whereas a lot of it is projection, right? It's like, it's the kids, right? Whereas like, no, the therapy is with the parents, because the kid is the product of the environment that it grew up in.
Exactly. And that's it's child comes into the world. Child becomes a mirror and a reflection of the parent. And when we're in the womb, we're only a nervous system. When you are born and you start breathing, you take on more life. So we come in, there's a couple things that we come in without. We come out of the world. We're first born with a clean slate within our gut bacteria, our gut microbiome. So when you come through a birth canal, you get your first healthy bacteria into the gut. And we have no nervous system regulation. So a baby learns how to regulate their nervous system they learn the tension or relaxation patterns of their primary caregiver. And so if that primary caregiver is in any way, is depressed, postpartum depression is so rampant, is depressed, has anxiety, is, distracted, then those are the patterns that the child is taking on. Mm-hmm. This is generational trauma too, right? These are the patterns that the child is taking on. And the child will also take on a belief system about themselves based on the availability of the availability of their caregiver and the ability of their caregiver to meet their needs. And this is something that can be addressed and healed through breath work and mindset work as well. We can identify, this comes to us from rebirthing breath work. I will give credit there to rebirthing breath work and Leonard Orr, who developed the personal law workshop. And that helps us to uncover that deepest lie that we tell ourselves, that once you see it, you recognize that it is dictating the way every aspect of your life. It is the way that you are engaging with the world and with your relationships. And that happened either within the womb or 6 months of your life because of the caregiver. And this is not something for anyone to feel guilty about. This is not anything for anyone to feel guilty about either. So I just want to say that, because it's more about the world that we live in, that it's not conducive to a healthy it's not conducive to us all being our own sacred, unique flames. And the beauty of the work that we do and of breath work is that we are working with what's in the body right now. And what's in the body right now is that pattern and those beliefs from the past. And so through the breath and awareness and other introspective activity and activities, and then taking action in the world, you can rewire your nervous system, and you learn how to regulate your nervous system. And this is part of our work is healing through relationship, because just as that baby is learning to regulate their nervous system from the caregiver, Stephen Porges brought us polyvagal theory, and polyvagal theory talks about how we are co-regulating always. Mm-hmm. So somebody who now knows how to regulate their nervous system can become a co-regulator for another person. And that's what a good facilitator and space holder is doing, so that healing is happening in the moment. And so, parents, if you have babies, do the work now for yourself, because, and again, the young people become a mirror and also take on the same patterns that we have. And, I'll just also mention, because it just gives just another layer to this. We talk about genetics. We can talk about how, my father had a heart attack, and then my grandfather had a heart attack, my great grandfather had a heart attack, and so I'm going to have a heart attack too. That's not true. The truth is that the reason you're probably going to have a heart attack too is because you believe it, and because you are living your life in the same way. Mm-hmm. Operating under the same type of belief systems, maybe eating in similar ways, engaging in the same types of activities, right? And that's why you're going to have the heart attack. Mm-hmm. And that, that really comes to us from Bruce Lipton, who you can look into the biology of belief, I think he's the first one who started this type of work of identifying that. You spoke to it a little bit before, that nurture versus nature. It's the environment that we end up in, and so if you're in the same environment, you know, the kids in the house, and you know, if you're in and you take that person and you go to a different environment, then different genetics, if we're looking at disease, different types of genetics have the opportunity to turn on or to turn off. And yeah, you know, with that healing or changing something, sometimes we do need to go to a different type of environment so that we can be exposed to different types of whatever, nervous systems, people, practices.
Yeah. I could talk to you forever. I just love it. So for the last question, I so feel like talking to you forever, but yeah. If you could impart one piece of wisdom to our listeners about self-growth, what would it be?
Breathe. I would just say you are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. Like, allow yourself the opportunity to stop and to just sit and breathe, or shake and breathe, move, right? Those, whatever your vision for yourself or for your life, like whatever vision is like fluttering around in your mind or in your heart, it's only there because it's possible. It's only there because it's possible. And so you deserve to take the time and space to connect with yourself and to do what you need to do to, I was going to say manifest, but it's more create that which is your vision and come into your alignment and come into your purpose.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I just picture now the dog and the cat just shaking, and it's like, oh, thank you so much for such a nourishing conversation, and just your love and your presence and being here in the space together. So, oh, it was so soul filling.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, such a needed conversation.
Good. Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your warmth, and I love your laugh.
Oh, thank you. Been cultivating for 34 years.
Great.
Thank you. I so feel like there's a parts too. Just feel like there's not enough. Like, you know, it's just
I'm right here.
Yeah,
you know how to find me.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. You're just so beautiful, and just I feel so honored to speak with you. It's just So thank you
That's
so
really
much.
sweet. Thank you.
Like just your journey of what you've gone through, and I just feel so humble that just how the spirit of the human mind, like just the human mind and the spirit and what we're capable of, that no matter what has happened, it's done and it's happened, and how far we can come from where we're like brought up in, right? Like it's like the petri dish from there, just how much growth can happen. And I just feel like just as a human race, as a kind, like, you know, we have so much potential, and like, let nothing that has happened, like you're a testament of, let nothing that has happened in your younger years define or dictate who you should be. And you're that testament. You're like the lotus from the mud, right? You've gone through all that muddy, and then you're like, yeah, I'm here, and like, thank you is all I can say. Thank you so much. I honestly, I feel so honored to like share this space with you. So thank you so much. Like giving you like a hug. Like, definitely like the butterfly you have there, like, come from the cocoon, and you've just blossomed and thrived into this beautiful,
That's what we're supposed to do, Krishna. That's what we're supposed to do.
Definitely, and you're a testament of it, like, you know, that you can do it.
You can do it. It can be done.
No plan B.
And it's worth it. No plan B. No plan. The crutch of that is like, but it's the reward of that, the reward that comes from that can only be experienced. Like, you can't, I'll come back to the 5K, right? Like, you can't receive the reward of knowing how it will feel to cross the finish line until you do it. But crossing the finish line is not just that day, it's everything that went into leading up to that moment to be able to happen, right? So every step of the journey is a vital step that makes the win even bigger.
Because you're physically doing it. It's like you can't make someone else breathe for you. You have to do it and experience it.
Yeah. You're the only one in your body. You're the only one on your journey. You're the only one who can do it. You're the only one who knows what's in your heart. The only one.
Thank you, beautiful angel. I so appreciate you and this time together. And I guess I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Yeah. See you soon. Sounds good.
Oh, my love. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. See you later.
Oh, my goodness. You can do it and say bye. But
It's not bye. See you next time.
See you next time. Thank you so much, Lisa, for having this conversation with me. I'm so grateful I have this conversation because I don't know if you've been a passenger on a sports bike, but after an hour, you will feel it. And I was like, I need to get off this bike now. But we were on the road and I was like, oh, okay. And then I remembered Lisa's breathwork and I found that spot and I kept breathing and I was able to go through a few more traffic lights to get to that spot where I could get off the bike, get on the side, and get my sigh relief. So I'm really grateful for Lisa and this chat. It really helped get through those spots. There have been other times that have happened, and yes, finding that spot and that breath. So to find out more about Lisa, check the link below, and she has talks on Sundays. So feel free to sign up for them. They're free, and I'll catch you later.